Hi, welcome in. It's Kate, and today we're going to do a simple practice of releasing our muscles. So this is going to be called pandiculation, and I started this because I tend to work out a lot and stretch a lot. And when you do yoga a lot, or when you do a lot of sports, or maybe hiking, your muscles get really tight, and sometimes stretching or foam rolling doesn't really help, right? Your muscles tend to get tight, right? Because the more we stretch, the more our muscles grow and strengthen. So this is a way to release any muscle tension without foam rolling, without massaging. It's kind of a way to remind your muscles to relax when you're not using them. So we're going to start first with the hips today. And I'm mainly doing this just because our hip flexors, right, that iliopsoas works a lot, right? We use it when we walk forward, right, when we pick up our knee. And we tend to miss this muscle when we're at the gym or when we're stretching. So that's where we're going to start today. So go ahead and get started on your backs. Go ahead and get nice and comfortable. Take a couple breaths in to really settle down comfy on your back. So if there's any popping up or too much rounding in, I want you to just try to find a nice neutral spine. And if you feel like you just don't feel like you're in a neutral spine, we'll do an exercise first to find that neutral spine. So first one here is we're going to inhale, find an anterior pelvic tilt. So what that means is those two hip bones, those front hip bones are going to reach up. So inhale, you're going to lift your belly, slightly lift your spine away from the mat. And then on that kind of final inhale, you're going to lift just a little bit more. And then exhale, just melt into a neutral position. So we're not melting straight into the mat, right? We're just slowly melting to that neutral position. Good. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale to melt. Good. Let's do 3 more. Inhale. And exhale. So kind of take note as you're breathing here. If you tend to want to kind of rock forward in that posterior pelvic tilt, right? Or if you tend to want to contract into an engaged core, right? Try to just reach up and then just gently come back into a neutral, relaxed position. So relax that you could take Shavasana here. All right, on that final one, let's switch up our pose or switch up our exercise. Let's go ahead and inhale. We're going to hug the knee into our belly. Doesn't matter which knee, we're going to alternate. And then you're going to exhale, take about 1 to 3 counts to drop it down. Okay, we're not doing it slow enough where that hip, that iliopsoas contracts, right? Because if I'm slowly lowering it down, it contracts. You're just doing it to slowly lower it and force it to release. Inhale, other knee in. Exhale, drop it down. Inhale, hug the knee in. Exhale, drop it down. Good. Find your own pace, and you'll eventually start to feel those hips release. So I did this before my pregnancy, but in my pregnancy, I really started to feel that kind of round ligament pain right in my iliopsoas. So this was really nice to just release any tension built up in that pain. All right, nice job. Let's find one more on each side. And all right, bringing it to our figure 4 pose. So let's lengthen that right leg, flex the toes, point the foot, and kind of roll out that ankle. And then set that ankle just above the opposite knee. And we're going to keep that foot down. So in figure 4, I know a lot of us can really hug it in and find that deep stretch. I want you to give about maybe 5 to 8% of your energy. I want you to inhale, press the knee away from you, and then exhale, let it hang back. And it can come back as far as you want, right? And then as you inhale, hug it forward, or push it forward, my bad. And then exhale, bring it back. And again, if you're not really feeling this stretch, that's fine, right? We're only giving about 5% of our energy. So if you tend to really want to give 100% of your energy, this is kind of a great practice to really, really slow it down and help those muscles relax. Because I remember first doing this, when I first learned this, I was very suspicious of this working because I felt like I wasn't really doing anything. But even just after doing it once or twice, I felt immediately, I felt that relief in my muscles. Okay, all right, let's find one or two more, depending on that inhale, exhale breath. And then just when you're ready, lengthen that leg again and go ahead and come to the other side. Then we'll come off of our backs. Good, so breathe in, push just about 5 to 8% of your energy. Exhale to release. That knee can come back as far as you want. Inhale, press forward. Now that we're on this second side, maybe notice what your eyebrows or facial muscles and shoulders are doing. Make sure they're also relaxed as you're moving through these poses. Good, find one more. And then gently unwind, come away from that come away from your back. And let's come into our tabletop pose. So this one gets a little bit more difficult, right? Just, I say difficult, right? Just because we're maybe contracting the muscles a little bit more. So just be wary. This is not a workout. This is muscle relaxation. In tabletop, you're going to lift the knee and just lift it just a little bit to feel that little resistance. And then you're going to exhale, set the knee down, shift the hips back into kind of that child's pose, come back to tabletop. Good, switch sides, lift the knee. Exhale to slowly release, shift the hips back. Good, and repeat. Good, and it doesn't matter how far back you're going, right? If you notice, I'm not going very far back just because I have my baby in the way. And just that shift back helps your hips know that you're done using them in that little lift. So set the knees down, press back. And think of that lowering as just letting go. Let the knee go. Let the hips shift back. All right, beautiful. One more. Good, nice job. All right, let's come to standing. And then we're gonna kind of do what we did on our spine, but on our feet. So if you need something to hold on to, you can grab onto something. I really challenge you though, just to not lift the knee as high, because again, this is not a workout. You're just trying to release the muscles. So go ahead and lift one knee, and then exhale, slowly drop it down. Try to prevent any snapping down, right, to drop it down, because maybe that feels like a lot for your hip. So inhale, bring it up. Exhale, drop it down. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale, slowly lower. Slowly lower and release. Good. Imagine too, with your mind, those hip muscles relaxing down. Good, nice job. Find that last one. Good. All right, nice job in those exercises. We are going to do a bonus one where we're going to come onto a couch or a bed. And I don't do this one every time just because it can feel kind of intense. But it's that typical kind of physical therapy exercise where you're laying on your back and you let one leg drop down. If you've ever been to physical therapy, they do this a lot to test your hip strength. And you'll see, right, a bed's kind of nice because usually your foot hangs off. Since I'm on a couch, it's not that high. I'm just going to bend the knee and let it open up. And I typically like this so that my hip doesn't stretch a lot with that hanging. So if your foot hangs off, that's awesome. You just have more space. If not, that's okay because again, we're not trying to strengthen that hip muscle. All right. And then that right foot, so I'm on my left side, just whichever leg is on the bed, you're going to bend or even hug into your chest just for support. And then kind of the similar thing what we did on that first exercise, you're just going to exhale, bring it into your belly, and then slowly release, drop it down. Good, again. Good, then drop it down. Good, nice job. Let's do maybe 2 or 3 more. If this is feeling really nice, you can do kind of that full 8 rounds. If this is kind of a lot though, just do maybe 4 to 5 rounds. Good, beautiful. All right, go ahead and gently sit up and let's switch to the other side. All right, so let that foot hang off nice and heavy. And for this first one, I'm just going to find that deeper stretch, really open up that hip to prep it to release. Leg that's on your couch or bed bends or hugs into your belly. Good. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, exhale, let it release. Good. A few more times. Follow your own pace. Again, if this is just kind of feeling like a workout or too much of a stretch, then you can skip this pose. Like I said before, I don't do this one every time. Just because that lifting and lowering sometimes does just really contract my iliopsoas. All right, beautiful. Find that last one. And then go ahead and gently come up and come into any comfortable position to end your practice. Once you found that position, bring hands to heart center. Close your eyes or just let that gaze come off your nose. When you're sitting here thinking about your practice, wanting to remind yourself that those small movements are important. Just like those small tasks outside of your yoga practice are important in your day. Beautiful. With that in your heart and mind, take your bow forward as respect to your practice. Namaste. Good. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. If you have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments. Or if you have any other muscles that tend to be over tight or overstretched, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I chose hips just because that's the most common one. So subscribe for more of my Pilates and yoga videos, and I'll see you next time.